All right. Welcome back to the Advanced Selling Podcast, the longest running sales training podcast history. I'm Bill Caskey.
I'm Bryan Neal over here.
We are delighted that you are with us again. I know some of you have been with us since day one, almost 20 years ago, 19 years ago. So we have done, I don't know how many, 1,400 episodes, and some of you have been with us the whole time. Some are newbies. If you are a newbie, somebody who just started listening, you can go to advancedsellingpodcast.com, and at the bottom of that page, there's a highly recommended assortment of episodes that are probably the most popular. So you could start.
Yeah, right. I wonder is there a way to proof point who, if anyone has been with us from the beginning? I know people are going to say they were, which is fine. I'm not saying they're like BSing the thing, but there's got to be someone that's an early adopter, especially.
You're going to lie about something and not get to heaven. That's probably not.
No. I swear I've been there the whole time, you guys. I know Doug Drozden. I know fact checker Doug.
The Lord says, how long? Here's the question. How long have you been listening? I was there from the beginning. Were you?
Yeah, right. Were you? Exactly. Can you prove it? I'm sure I'd love to hear from listeners. Listener at advancedsellingpodcast.com, been around the whole time.
That's a great question.
Because I know there are people that have been, and I don't need proof. I trust you, Yeah. But it's a thing.
Yeah.
For sure.
I'd love to hear that. Okay. I got a text the other night from a lady who is married to a good friend of mine. His name is Chip.
Okay.
And Chip is a 75-year-old guy, leader in the community, has always had awesome jobs, made a lot of money, saved a lot of money, very successful guy, very successful family. You look at him and like, oh man, that dude, I want to be that guy when I'm 75. But Chip has some health issues, namely, he's got some dementia that's starting to come on. And it's a very sad thing. If you've been around it, it's just sad. It's just sad. I take Jeff out to breakfast once every couple of months because if I don't, he doesn't drive anymore, and he's home with his wife. They obviously live alone. Family's all gone.
Yeah,
and I feel like he needs a little guy stuff.
Yeah.
Every time I've taken him out in the last 6 months, I have not noticed any problem at all. Like he's on top of the NBA playoffs. He's on top of politics. He's on top. He's like, oh yeah, let's do this again. I'll text you. And then he texts me. I'm like, I don't see any problem here. Now, occasionally, but I do, I can't think of his name. Can't think of Bryan. What's Bryan's last name? Neil, you should know that. Yeah. But so I got a text from her the other day. Said, hey, I want you to, next time you go out with Chip, I want you to find out his work progress from the time he got out of college and any kind of awards or citations he has gotten in his career.
Okay.
She said, tell him you're working on a project. Well,
here we go. Nice and coercive here. I love it. Not manipulative at all.
You know what she's going to ask?
100%.
Okay. So I said, well, what's the context for this?
Thank you.
And because she didn't give me any instruction, it was a one line. She says, I'm going to start writing his obituary.
Oh man.
And I'm like, he's fine. I mean, he's fine. Are you trying to kill the dude?
Right.
Are you trying to just,
right.
And I understand being prepared. I understand that. But how many times do we not write the obit until we take him to hospice, and then it's like, oh, I better get busy on the obit.
Right.
And so I don't know what to do with it. I said, well, I don't, to me, the obituary, and this is, I don't know if this is old fashioned or not. I believe the obituary should be about your highlights of family life and what you love to do and your passions, not your work resume.
Yeah. Yep.
So what should I do?
Well, here's where I'm hung up with it. Isn't that her job to ask him, not your job to ask him and then report back? I'm like, that's a whole other can of worms with their relationship, marriage, whatever, that I'm like, that just doesn't feel good to me. I just would not feel comfortable with her. I would say I'm very flattered and I appreciate that. I just don't feel comfortable with that. And it sounds coercive and manipulative to him. And if you
don't think he's going to pick up on that?
Totally. Or if you think that, and then if he says, no, why'd you have him ask me that? And he's like, well, I thought you're, losing a step mentally or something like that. Then that's a whole other can of worms. I'm like,
well, he knows, he's very aware that people believe he has this emergent condition.
Yeah.
He's very aware because he's taken drugs and everything for it.
Yeah.
So he I mean, it's not like he's totally, well, what are you talking about?
Right.
But, so I did. I sent her a text back similar. I
you.
said, I'm happy to do it, but I feel a little awkward in this case because I don't want to lie and say it's about a project I'm working on.
Right. It's
not working on
not.
projects.
Isn't it funny? People want you to lie. They're asking you to lie.
Okay
Tell them that you're working on a project, but I'm not. But tell them you are. That drives me batty. And I'm not like this. I've been a lot of personal work to get here, but that is not a good way to live, is it? Right? You're like, just say no. And you politely decline with a boundary. I'm like, look, I just don't feel comfortable doing that, and maybe someone else will, but I'm not. And then, and I don't know. I'm with you too. That's another whole can of worms or on the obituary thing is a thing, isn't it? So
it's such an old thing.
I know.
It's such an old thing. Like we had we'll get to the topic here.
Yeah.
Real quick. I had a friend pass. He was diabetic. He was just overweight. I mean, he was a great guy. Realtor in Carmel, great guy. Been a family friend forever. And then they put him in a funeral home, obviously. And then you can go to the funeral home website and look at the obit and look at the showing times and all that. And there's no place for a comment.
Oh, really?
I thought most of those that I'm sure they just buy a software package that allows you to comment, allows you to, and there was no place. And he had thousands of people who would have loved to comment. And so I wrote the funeral home. I'm like, is this system not working? I always complain, always bitching about something. And I got an automatic email back to, we're going to thank you for this very valuable advice. We're going to escalate this. Okay. Heard back.
To whom? Because funeral homes operate with, so much immediacy and, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not like you miss something on Amazon. Like, we'll ship a new one out tomorrow. Like,
exactly.
Oh, thank you so much for your feedback, Bill.
All right. Well, let's get to the topic.
We should. I'm glad you did that. That's good. Too much. Yeah, you're good. Okay. Topic. Trying to figure out how to couch this topic up. The topic is about, at its core, resistance. And it comes in a couple different forms for Bill and for me. We've got, what we feel to be a year and a half out, a really good program where we're certifying coaches and do all this stuff. And we have a lot of clients that are prospective clients in sales funnel. And we have some that are just like sitting there waiting to make a decision. And we're doing the things we teach and we're doing timelines, but they're still just can't da-da-da. And then we have other clients who are incredibly decisive. Even if the answer is no, they're decisive, which I have a huge respect for.
I do too.
And then the ones that say yes immediately start to implement what we're teaching. And I had this happen, had a super decisive client, president, COO come. We have 3 meetings. They come to our office, a big, long 90-minute meeting. They say, let's do this. They sign a contract. We launch. They learned their first thing last week. Guy in Kentucky's got this huge deal that's like stalled out. I give him a thing to do. He goes and does it. He calls me. He's like, Bryan, it took him 9 minutes to respond to me. Like it's been 2 days. And then he added the COO of his customer. His customer added the COO of their company to the meeting. He's like, oh, I can't believe it. And I'm like, thank God that whole thing happened. Thank God the CEO and COO of my client made a decision. Yeah. Thank God we launched quick. Thank God his team bought into the tool and tried the stuff. And away we go. We're just starting. And then I got people have been sitting around for months and months and months. Well, I'm like, what? And I'm trying to look in the mirror, and then we have it in the classroom too. We have individuals that resist things. So let's talk about resistance.
I'm wondering if the president who was the decisive decision maker, builds the culture that way. So the people within his company, for the most part, probably are also decision makers. I don't know that that's something they filter for, but I could see a culture of decisiveness that being a virtue.
That's 100%. Now that I'm in there, that's 100% cultural.
Yeah.
And I think it's fantastic for efficiency and effectiveness in
I do too.
Building the business. It is such a good way to be.
Yeah. I've had people in the corporate world ghost for a while and then come back. And I've got one right now that we're just starting with, and she ghosted me for about 2 months. And then I don't care. I mean, I would like to have heard something, but we were having trouble with my emails weren't making it through their filters and that whole thing is like, so
Right.
finally she emailed me back last week, said, I want to get started.
Good.
And so once she said, I want to get started, we had a phone call and she does want to get started. It's not just a push. It's not
Right.
just a move. And so I think there's a lot of times people, they struggle with the decision. And then once they make it, it's like, let's go.
Yes.
But why do they struggle with the decision? And sometimes it's us. I don't mean
Yes.
you in this case, but sometimes it's us that we either didn't bring them along in the right way. We didn't address all the yellow flags and possible objections. We didn't talk about the goal and the end result and the transformation enough or in the right way. And so they're getting ready to spend money and commit to something, and they're not quite sure, what am I really going to get? I see that a lot. I think that's the main reason that closing percentages are, low, 10 to 20%, because we don't do a good job. You can't blame that on them.
No. And that's what we've been doing too, is taking a hard look in the mirror and saying, okay, what have we, and what we're learning is in this process stuff. So we believe, and I think this is good for our listeners, that the details in the process matter a ton. And so as you're thinking about being efficient in a process, be efficient means be really efficient, meaning we have a sales call here at lunch, and I just did the agenda down on the board and I actually wrote down a timeline with the actual dates on it, suggested dates to get us to go, no go. Now, we can modify those, but I think so many people will just get strung along, Okay, well, we needed a couple more weeks and we'll go, okay, well, let's, reconnect then. And I'm like, let's help them, because I think this also hangs over people. And you can still do a timeline with Bill, your client that ghosted you, and we're just not going to reconvene for another 2 months. That's totally fine. But we are going to reconvene on a date in September, and we booked that now because it goes so fast.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I think you hit on something there. We talk with our clients about the roadmap, the roadmap to success. So at some point, the client says, okay, let's go. And then the question is, okay, what does that roadmap look like? We have the sales process roadmap, but the big roadmap is how are we going to get you to the promised land? And I don't think we spend enough time on that whole timeline, because I think maybe I'm wrong here. I think a lot of times the prospect is asking themselves, rarely you, asking themselves, am I in good hands with Bryan or Bill? Am I in good hands here? Am I really choosing the right vendor, the right path, the right time? There's all these questions that come up that create, a stall. When if you have that, like you say, that timeline where you say, look, once you make the decision, here's what's going to happen. Here's what's going to happen. Boop, 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 boop. Then they're like, okay, I'm in good hands here.
Yes. That's really good. They have clarity of process after they say yes.
After they say yes. Yeah.
There's another side to this that I'm wondering how to vet this out or pull it out. And that is, so I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to engage my sales team with Bill. He's going to come in and do some coaching for us for 90 days, whatever the thing is. And I start to think, boy, my sales team already complains that they're too busy. Now I'm, now there's change. So I've got adding stuff on the calendar, adding things to do, spending money. Sometimes, you talk about this with your physical fitness, you're like, well, I'm not that bad. You know what I mean? I got a little dad bod, but I'm not that bad, my cholesterol's a little high, but you know what? Going to the gym 5 days a week, that's just too much. I think I'm just going to keep doing what I've been doing. And they choose the status quo because it's super old. So they got pain to change versus pain to gain. But, I feel like sometimes they think they're signing up for a lot of stuff to do.
Yeah. So rather than fight that, it's just, we'll continue down the same path and maybe things will change. They won't, but maybe they're telling themselves they will. No, I think that's good. I think it's a great topic for our listeners is your customers, unless they are in a place where they have to do something. Like if you're running down the road and you get a flat tire, you can't not do something. You have to. Right. But most business solutions are not they're optional.
You're right. Totally. And and it tends to be an incumbent. There's someone already doing whatever it is that you're selling. It's very rare that you come and say, we don't have one of those.
Mostly in our business, they usually don't have somebody, right?
That's fair. That's fair. Or they're doing it themselves.
Yeah.
Well,
and I think also in the consulting or coaching business, you're selling air in a lot of ways. You're selling the promise and the hope that something's going to change. Whereas if you're selling a cloud-based solution, there's things, there's mechanics, there's, you can see progress. But what we sell is it's not easy. Mm-hmm. I like it because it's customizable and it's not like you are just selling a box of stuff. Mm-hmm. But it also has a downside, which is you're selling vague, you're selling air, selling ether.
Yes. Ether.
Yeah.
The ether.
So what else though for the person? So you've got, I've got 15 people in this one program that I started here a couple months ago. And I'd say five to seven of them are just like, they're all over it. They're, and the other 7 or 8, 2 or 3 of them are client success people. So they may not have the same vigor for it, but it's usually that way. At 30% take it and run, 70% don't.
Yeah.
What's with the 70% that don't?
Yeah, I know it. And and my guy who coached me for a minute, same concept, calls it 10-80-10. So that's what I always say, 10-80-10 rule. 10 people are going to fall you off a bridge. 10 people are going to never do anything, and 80% in the middle. And then we look for the movable middle.
Yep.
So I think about that as the movable middle as a one at a time versus all of them. So they're clinging on to, right? So you've got those in your client, 5 or 6 or something. They're like, we're going, right? And there's these, of the people that are in the middle that are still clinging, there's one that's closer to letting go to go to the new place than the rest. And I try to give that person like a helping hand to say, let me just come with me a little bit individually to make it safe for them. I also try to think about risk reward. And in most cases, anything that Bill Caskey teaches a salesperson has a virtual 0 downside risk. There's almost nothing, and I say almost just to bow out of a little bit. There's nothing you're ever going to teach someone to do or say that's going to cause them or their customer pain or problem. Nothing you're going to teach them to
cause
say
them to lose the business.
lose the deal. It's just you're not going to. Nothing is that way.
No.
And so, but I have upside gain. I have a benefit to be made. And so I'm asking I like to couch it to people like that. So what's the risk in this, well, what if it doesn't work? Then just don't do it anymore. But what if it does? He's like, I'm like, why not? And I'm also not a fan of I don't like the dabbling mentality. Like, oh, that's a good little trick, Bill. I'm going to try that one. I'm like, don't do that. Just go in. It's kind of like, you know what? I'm going to try to walk on the treadmill one time in an incline. I'm going to do that on Saturday. And I'm going to get on the scale afterwards. You can't do that, man. You got to keep walking on the treadmill at an incline for 6 months. Then you will see massive gains. And that's the other thing that I get rubbed wrong a little bit with clients. Like, oh, that's a good little, I'm going to try this out here. Don't do that. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm going to see what happens when I eat an apple.
I've always been bothered by that, but I think that's just human nature. Trial, try it and see if you like it. I'm going to try this move. I'm going to let's try Bill for a week. And I always say, we're not going to do that. We're not going to try it our programs are 12 weeks, 3 months just to start, because I don't want people to bite off more than they can chew. And what if I don't want to work with them? I mean, it could go both ways.
100%.
But I think that whole individual thing is more serious, because everybody says they want to grow. Everybody says they want more. They want to grow their income. You want to grow your income? Nobody says, no, I'd like to reduce it by 50%. They always say, well, how much? Oh, I don't know, 20, 30, 40%. Okay. Well, can you do the same things and get there? And most of the time they'll say, no, can't do the same things. We're gonna have to and then you give them the changes and some suggestions based on what you know about them and their business. And that's when the resistance comes.
Yes.
And so then the question I always have is, did you really not want to grow, or do you not think these things work?
Yep.
And if you don't think these things work and you have evidence that they don't work, which they don't because they haven't tried them, then that's great. But if you haven't tried these things, what would be the risk of trying them and then they don't work?
Right.
Or they might work. Yeah, I got you.
It's just it's just the logic doesn't foot for me.
I know.
And I get people cling on to what they know. It's safe. It makes them feel good.
That's
There's
right.
another deeper thing too. I think that there's a risk that if I've been doing something a certain way for a long time and I think I'm really good at my job, and then you teach me to do something differently, it starts to touch at my armor and go, wait a second, I've been doing that wrong the whole time.
Undermines.
You know what I mean? Yeah. It just chinks away at at my soul a little bit. I'm like, ugh. Versus going, dang, I wish I would have learned that 30 years ago. That's magic.
Don't you think though that the highest of high achievers are much easier? They find an easier way to release some of that old stuff, and they're like, whatever works. I don't care. I mean, and sometimes people just bluster. I don't care, whatever works. But there are other people like, oh no, they don't care what works. They want to know what works the best for them today.
Yes.
And they love then they love it. So anyway, we'd love to hear from you on LinkedIn about this. If you're a leader or a president of a company or a salesperson, and you feel like, sometimes there's some resistance to learning new things and deploying them, we'd like to hear from you. We might do another episode if we hear enough. So cue us in. Let us know what you think about this.
Awesome. See you next time.
All right. Bye.
Bye.